Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Episode 20. Today we're going to be talking about storytelling, the power of storytelling, what storytelling is, and how you can use it in your life to help you along your journey. So for me, how I see storytelling, the very powerful connection to our ancestors. It keeps the prayers of the ancestors alive because the stories that have survived all these ages is because it contains the ancestors' prayers. So each of those stories holds clues, symbolisms that help us along our path of awakening. And there's a bunch of different kinds of stories. And we'll circle back around to those afterwards, but like my favorite is creation myths and mythologies. And for me, that's true because I'm an astrologer, and the constellations, when you study astrology and you get deep, each constellation and each planet has a complete mythology that goes with it. And the reason that the planets belong to a certain sign, we say this planet rules that sign, is because their mythologies overlap. They're part of each other's stories. Um, and so that's been a big theme my entire adult life, but I loved the stories when I was a kid too. And um, delving into those stories and finding the symbologies, the ones that speak loudest to you are those are the clues that we can unearth that move us along our path of discovery, really to our inner self, our true self. Because um, when I used to do past life regressions, I found that we leave things for ourselves for the next lifetime or two or three or however. But we leave clues, and when, like in this lifetime, if I walk up and I just go, I don't know why I'm just so attracted to that. That's a clue. That's something that you left for yourself that will trigger part of your awakening and keep you on your higher path and unfolding into your higher frequencies. And the more that we tell these stories and the more that we internalize these stories, the more we find out about our deeper inner workings and our deep inner structure, that these stories will go all the way back to Cosmic Mother and Cosmic Father, which is the core of our physical and spiritual structure. So that is what storytelling means to me. So a story that I think is really pertinent to what is happening in the sky right now, because as we are recording, we are in the in-between of the May 16, May 17, just very, very powerful new moon in Taurus and all the aspects that go with it. And how I see these stories in the sky, all of our stars, the star stories, I just, it's my thing. And um, if we look in the constellations, there's 12 constellations that we use in the zodiac, and they all have a mythology. Those mythologies tend to be around the Greek Olympians. You can get down to the Romans too, but I'm not. I'm going to stay at the Greek level. So if you're looking at the constellation stories from the Greek mythology, then we're addressing the 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 Olympians, and just barely will touch on the Titans, which is the generation before them. And if you spiral out to some of the other constellations that are not part of the zodiac, then you begin to find the Titans. And if you spiral further out to some of the even more remotely forgotten, then you begin to run into the primordial stories. And those are our ancestors, and those stories are stories and prayers that they left for us, knowing that it would activate our ascension, our awareness in expanding our consciousness at a time when it was ready. And so what is happening with the new moon is a big expansion. It's like a portal that's opening that is directly channeling the ancient wisdoms that we're ready to receive. So how we've been speaking it, keep your frequency up and go for your magic walks and all this, because it keeps the portal at a higher frequency and it keeps you at a higher frequency so that when the portal opens, you are ready to receive the higher frequency of light and information that's being streamed in from the cosmos to Pachamama, because we are that interface. As a human being, we stand as the interface of the cosmic and what's coming up from Pachamama, and that's all swirling in us. And those stories are meant to activate different parts of us. Like, for instance, if we're talking about the story of the golden apple, because I kind of touched on that one in the last podcast. So that would be talking about activating our pineal glands, you know. But I want to talk to you about a story that's really pertinent with all of the energies that are happening with this Taurus new moon. And without getting into all the astrology, but there's a lot of conjunctions, which means planets who are side by side can hold each other's hands. So they're kind of acting together, not independently. They're mushing up their energies into one thing. It's hard for us to feel this planet or that planet because they're kind of mushed together. There's a lot of that going on in this chart, and that really is speaking to um, the integration of masculine and feminine. And at this point, rather than um, like basic masculine, feminine, we're kind of going back a little bit more to the primordial stuff because we're talking galactic center, and like there are things happening at the opposite end of when things come into the galactic center. So we're pulling all of this really ancient wisdom knowledge from the galactic center to Pachamama through us. And so that is activating our own ascension through our chakras and our spine, up into our pineal gland and the Eye of Horus. Some people will refer to that. It depends on how you see it. All of those are correct. So what I'd like to talk about is the battle of Khonsu and Thoth. Now, Thoth would be god of wisdom. He's known as the god of wisdom, the god of the moon, the god of time, and you can find all these mythologies online. They're everywhere. And the battle of Thoth and Khonsu is reoccurring. There you'll find several stories about it. One's about one winning light, one's about the other one winning light, da, da, da. But what I really want to get to is that it's a battle for light, but it's about time. And it's about masculine time and feminine time. So Thoth represents solar time, where everything is neat and finite and put in a box and predictable and manageable and That's it. That's all. There's a right and wrong, and this is it. Khonsu is feminine time, the flow and the cycle and the allowing. And Khonsu comes out of the stillness, out of the darkness, where Thoth comes out of the brightness of the sun. And so the solar deity and the lunar deity. And in the mythologies, they battle several times. And battle is not a war, by the way. When we're back this far in cosmology, we're back with the um Khonsu is a primordial god, one of the first. And battles are thoughts and words. It's not a clashing of swords. The sword is the word. Words, sword. Yeah, see a little reflection there. Um, so Khonsu is about preserving the natural order of things and flow and allowing and the creative process, whereas Thoth has to have a plan and step by step, and you execute and you manifest. So both of them manifest creation in a different manner. And what is happening in the mythologies is, like, in one, Thoth goes and has a game of senet. It's like chess, Egyptian chess game, and they challenge each other. And in one, at the time there was only 360 days in the calendar, in the solar calendar, and because of the curse that Ra put out there, Thoth had to come up with a solution, because he cursed Nut, the sky goddess, so that she could not have any more children. And that set everything out of balance in the cosmos. So Thoth had to come up with a solution, but keep the cosmic balance at the same time. He couldn't break any laws. So what he did was he challenged Khonsu, primordial time, with a game of Senet. And he won, and he took 1/72nd of the light of the moon, that tiny little crescent moon, which is where we are right now today. That tiny little crescent is his. And with that, he created 5 days out of time, which is why we have 365 days in our solar year. Those 5 days are considered out of time, and they're super magical, super powerful for manifesting, because they draw on primordial time. It's not solar time. They're created from the primordial lunar time. And so there's all that extra magic in there. And by the way, those are the 5 days of Alcyon that happen between Christmas and New Year's. That's those 5 days. And so that's why those days are so powerful, such a powerful portal. So anyway, what is happening in the sky right now, with this big focus on masculine and feminine, because we in the bigger cycle, not just the new moon cycle, but in the bigger cosmic cycle, we're in a switch of patriarchy to matriarchy. The divine feminine is on the rise. So this bigger switch that we're in the middle of is governed by the balance of masculine and feminine. And so Khonsu and Thoth are representing time in the masculine form and in the feminine form. And that constant battle between them is something that this particular new moon is really bringing to the surface, because there's all of this we've been talking about being instead of doing. Be more, do less. Being is Khonsu's time, doing is Thoth's time. And so there's that constant battle that this mythology is describing, the battle that is within us, of our everyday living, of how we approach our everyday, of being and doing, how much balance. Now, getting up, going to work, 9 to 5, all of the schedules, the tasks and your to-do list, all of that is the masculine calendar. That's all the governed masculine time things. That's all of our doings, all of our creative flow, our magic walks, our meditations, our bath, just sit with your feet in the grass, um, all of your being. When you're painting, when you're writing, when you're playing music, when you're drumming, when you're just trying to talk to Pachamama, all of those, that's the feminine time. And this new moon is really opening a portal where all the ancient, ancient, ancient energies, the wisdoms, the ancient light is being re-released because we are at a frequency now where we can claim that back. And so these, if you listen to some of the astrologers, they will talk about some of the ancient bodies that are playing into the astrological charts. And these are the ones that I'm saying, it's like the ancient primordial ones have come to hold hands with the Olympians. And so it's like the Olympians' great grandparents have come for a visit, and they're bringing all that energy back to us, and that is all available to us now. So your high frequency that you're at, you're ready to accept all of these new to us energies, but very, very ancient energies. And for me, that's the power of storytelling. And if you're interested in looking that up deeper, look up the battle between Khonsu and Thoth. Okay, your turn.
That was very beautiful, spectacular, and something what I never will be able to do, because that's not how I am wired. And for people who are more wired like me, this kind of storytelling, what Robin just did, for me, it's a kind of, oh, I wish I could do that. But also, I wish I could remember this. So I really like it, and I think it's very interested. But don't let me, um, um, uh, uh, don't let me try to tell even now what Robin just told, because that's not how I'm wired. I cannot tell that anymore. Half of it is already out of my system, and um, um, when you want to understand a little bit more how I am wired, for instance, for people who are also wired like this, is I have to be able to feel it, and I have to be able to make a picture of it. And what Robin is telling about all those stars and all those mythology, I know how Thoth, I even don't know how to say it, looks like in the mythology, with his ibis head. That is what I know, because that's a picture I can remember. But the story behind it, it's way more difficult for me, because I cannot feel it. It's when I would be able to remember it, then I have to put it in my brain so that I can remember it. But then I'm not storytelling anymore. I am throwing up what I just learned in my brain. And so my way of storytelling is completely different. And the story I want to tell you about is not really a story, but it is a kind of feeling. It's a kind of uh, something what you can do with a blanket or with a shawl. Well, when you go back in time, when the people were roaming around on the prairies and didn't have a house, they really want to have also a sacred place for themselves, a sacred place where they can feel home. And because they didn't have a house, they had a tipi in or an other kind of tent or a small cabin, but there were many other peoples also. So therefore they hadn't have a sacred space for their own. So what they do is they had more of the time a blanket and they put it around them, and then people outside of them knew we shouldn't disturb them because they are inside. They are in their own sacred space, what you can call your home. And um, it's important, or let me say different, to do it also when you have a house, and even when you have a place what you call your sacred space where you pray, where you meditate, then still to put something like a blanket around you. That's where Robin was telling, I don't know how many podcasts ago, she was talking all the time about her um, security blanket, she called it.
Oh,
So it's a kind of a security blanket. It feels only by making this movement. uh, so you are protecting yourself. You're protecting everything what is inside this blanket, and it is asking you to go inward, to put everything in there what is you, and to make this space sacred and safe. So therefore, um, you have to be conscious that it is a sacred space, that it is your safe home, and that no child, nobody else, at the moment when this is closed, there is no access for anybody else. Nobody, only you. And it is so that you can go inside and find that beautiful person that lives inside. It is about beauty. It is about finding who you really are, what really makes you laugh, what really makes you laugh. I'm not talking about love between people. I'm talking about love for life, and I'm talking about love for yourself. Um, um, really feel also, um, it is about feeling your body and your soul is telling. It's the home of your body and your soul. Your brain has also access, but is no boss there. Your brain can be boss on the rest of your life, but not in this sacred space. Your body and your soul are boss, and your heart, of course. And listen to those things, and your brain can ask, how is about this? But then you go back and feel what your body, your heart, and your soul is saying about what your brain was saying. This whole blanket, this practice is about becoming whole, is becoming the person who you are, that your life, what you are living, is coming out of this sacred space, not from that left brain, but from this sacred space, and that you can feel more and more and more what you are really here to do, what your really soul purpose is. And everything you need for this to know is living inside this blanket. You see also, my head is not inside that blanket. It is my heart, and my soul. My soul lives also, of course, a part in my head, and there is a connection, but you don't need to go outside of this blanket to search for your answers. You are always connected with Cosmic Father, Cosmic Mother, what other people call God. You are always connected with Mother Earth, Pachamama, but that's automatically. You don't need to go outside for this connection. That connection is there, otherwise you weren't alive. And so inside this blanket is everything you need to find who you really are, what your soul purpose is. And your body will show you what your soul purpose is, because your body is gonna relax. Your body, breathing, for instance, become way more easier. The tension in your body is going away. You feel that everything is more alive in you. And when you feel that, and that's connected with your heart and your soul, then you are on the right path. You're on the right way. And this is not a one-time thing, of course. This is every time when you feel the need of coming home, feel the need to some safety, security blanket, as Robin is calling this. Do that and take a real blanket, take a real shawl doing this. And this blanket can also, when you want to, at least also have a different function. But that function is only there when you are whole, and not before that. Only when you are whole. When you find other whole person and you feel that soul connection, you can invite this person in your blanket. And it's on that person to step inside the blanket or not.
I'm
But
inviting you in my blanket.
oh, thank you. And when that person is stepping inside your blanket, and when you close this blanket around the both of you, then the, how do you say that? The deal is made. Then that, then you have consciously connected with each other and closed the deal that is a bond for life. But as I said, only when you are whole and with another whole person. Don't look for person who are not whole. So probably for American people who are work more with native people, who they know the story about the blanket. Okay, that was my blanket story.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was wonderful. Yeah. So everybody can go grab themselves a blanket, bless it, make it your sacred blanket. That's your sacred space. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to finish up with the ending of that story, Khonsu and Thoth. What it was really about, they were just battling head to head to head to head to head. It's like, you're a thief, you're stealing my light. No, I'm not a thief. I'm is that and the resolve was the realization that you need both to be whole, that there was not an actual battle, there was a wholeness happening where the sun projects, and the moon reflects. The sun gives, the moon receives. And so, in recognizing the wholeness, then the battle was ended. And this is within ourselves and within our daily lives of getting that masculine feminine time lined up where there's a balance of giving and receiving, of doing and being, and this new moon is very powerful for that. So if anybody wants to check out that story, that may help you find your own. I find you go out and you look for something like that, and you'll end up on your own trail. Like that might just be the starting point, and then just go. Just follow your own lead. And that's a wonderful way to do it. And I just want to end real quick with other ways that storytelling plays a part. Very valuable role is the mythologies, not just necessarily connected to the stars, but your favorite mythology stories. Those are things that you left behind for yourself as well. And maybe, who knows, you might have even been part of that story in a previous lifetime. You don't know that yet, but it's a fun one to explore. And once you get in there, and one symbol will lead you to another symbol, and again, they'll have different meanings. Clementine and I could have an affinity for the same story and the same symbol within that story, but it have a completely different meaning for you than it would for me, yeah? So everybody wants to make sure you stay true to your own meanings, and don't let anybody tell you, well, that's not what it means. Well, it does to you. And that's the point. Some of my favorite stories to explore is creation myths. When my kids were little, I taught them 25 creation myths from around the world. And I was like, how could these people who, for all intent and purposes, had no communication with each other, how do they all come up with the same symbols? Look, every story has a cross. Every story has an egg. Every story, man was made from mud or dirt or breath or an element, right? A sacred element. Um, how does that happen? So whatever, the serpent, the cosmic egg, the apple, the symbology that stands out to you, that's the part you should explore. That's what's speaking to you and has meaning for you. I feel it's also important to know your ancestor story. I I've done my heritage on my father's side, oh, way back to, I think I'm in the 1400s. Both my mom and my dad's side right now, I think I'm back into the 1400s or 1600s at least. Let's go there. That's safe. I know that for sure. And to do that, you kind of swim around in your ancestors' energies, and it opens things up, and sometimes gets a little overwhelming. Um, like for me, I know I came to break cycles, so it brings up a lot of darkness and things, and I have a few trials that go around it about breaking cycles. Not everybody's here to do that, so that is not the purpose it's going to serve for everybody. But knowing your ancestors' stories, then you know that's what you're carrying around in your cells. It's the cloth you're made from. Um, Again, bring that a little bit closer. When I was little, we used to get to sit around and listen to the grown-ups talk back before technology and everybody was busy doing things, and people would come over just to talk, and they would sit and talk, and the grown-ups would be sitting there just ragging on each other about when they were kids, which was just like, blows your mind. It's like, "My mom was a kid, what?" And you're listening to them, it's like, "Well, she was a little bratty too." It's like, "Wow, I'd get in trouble for this. They think this is funny," And it just you get so much insight. So your family stories, your personal stories, like, what do they hold tight? What what do they admire? Like, when you listen to them tell stories, and you'll get themes about, oh, how stubborn we are, which that's big in my family. It's like when somebody even says that right now, like, "You're so stubborn," I'm like, why are we even saying that? That's what we're made of. Like, we are all stubborn. That's just who we are. Listen to the stories. So your family stories, I think, are important. It gives you kind of like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm supposed to be this. Your star stories, I'm okay. I'm supposed to be this. Your ancestor stories, I'm okay. I'm supposed to be this. And it's important, I think, to integrate that that okayness and come into a wholeness of, like, some things that you think should be a source of shame or irritation to other people, and it's like, yeah, but I was made that way. I am supposed to be that way, and you hold it in a different manner. And the last thing that I want to touch on that's a very, very valuable way of using storytelling is to go back to your childhood and what were your favorite myths? What were your favorite stories? What were your favorite fairy tales? For me, mine was Cinderella. And all through my life, all through my life, there's the scene, like, okay, people who know me, the one thing they talk about is my collection of shoes. I have really full shoes. It's such a Cinderella thing. And I like dresses, like, where everybody starts wearing jeans and all. It's like, I wear dresses. There's so many levels of the Cinderella story for me. But go back, like, I had a friend who did this with me at one point, and her favorite was Cinderella. I'm not Cinderella. Mine is Cinderella. Hers was Snow White. And she was laughing because she's like, yeah, with her collection of little men and nobody's her boyfriend, she just has all these men who admire her. She's like, that's my story. And I'm like, see? So go back and find what your favorite stories were as a child, and see what your themes are, see what your symbols are, and just have fun and play with that. And
Wh-
your
When you are
regionals.
a little bit wired like me, then for me, about everything what Robin just told, for me it's the opposite. Don't ask me about fairy tales. I don't know them. They are told to me, but for me it was always so ridiculous and so nothing real. It was so made up that it just didn't interested me. So so
You got to get more in the ozone.
no, probably you have to, but I'm born here on Earth, or at least that's what I'm
Right.
thinking, or I'm perhaps even in the Earth, and also what Robin was telling about your family lineage. I'm really not interested in my family lineage as who they are, what their names were, what they were doing. I know, for instance, um, that my brother went to the last living brother of my father before he died, and he starts asking questions about this family tree. And he was telling me, and I was thinking, what are you telling me? Do I have to like it? Do I have to say, oh, that's interest? It just doesn't interest. It doesn't, I cannot feel that. It does not bring me anything. But what I am doing is I connect with my heart with my feeling to the lineage. I feel what they felt or what they let me feel like right now. Uh, uh, um, there I can tell stories about. But if they were a baker or a butcher or making cigars or what, I'm just not interested in that. That's not where my interest goes. I need to feel it. I need to feel who those people were. That is what interests me. And about the mythology, Robin gave stories about the Greek mythology. My interest, for me, the Greek mythology is way too young. My interest goes past Egypt mythology. So everything, so Egyptian times, I have a little bit more from that, but Greek, first of all, way too difficult names. So there it stops already for me. Then I cannot listen anymore because the name. But it it is a too young um, mythology for me. My interest goes way more back, and I understand now why that is. That has to do with my ancestors and where they came from and who they are. But for a few years ago, I didn't know that, and I didn't understand that. And um, also, for me, there was a little part with it also um, in the last podcast. Yes, the last podcast, I told you that I'm dyslexic, and I thought it was a big part of my being dyslexic has to do that I cannot remember it, but it has a um, this dyslexic part is for me a big talent. It is just being wired differently and learning that that is my perfect imperfection, and that um, I have to listen to that. Well, then I find who I really are, what really ticks me, what really lights my fire, and I can work with it and do with it and give from there. And so I want to tell you that. So just when people are also like me wired a little bit different than Robin, then you don't do anything with your stories, um, and it's a pity because it's such a beautiful way to connect with something.
It is, but not the only way, right? Not everybody's meant to do that. You got to stay true to yourself. So if it resonates, yay. If it doesn't, do your thing, right?
Okay, we see you next week in our other podcast. Bye bye.
Have a good week.